How you doing, everybody? Jay Julio Vela here for another wonderful edition of Harris County Criminal Lawyers Association Reasonable Doubt. Here along with my fellow host, Justin Harris. How you doing, Justin?
Man, I'm so glad to see you back.
Live and well. Barely made it, but alive.
How was that? You gonna talk to us about that?
We can, but not before an incredible introduction from a former host and welcome back host, Murray Newman. How you doing, Murray?
JV, I'm great. It's good to see you back there, man.
Hey, man, nice and good and living well, staying alive, you know.
I'm excited you gained your COVID weight loss back that fast.
3 days.
You're an inspiration to us all.
3 days, 20 pounds, gained it back 3 days. Lost 20 in about 5, gained 20 in 3. Easy. Cheryl.
You showed COVID.
I wish, man, I wish. Cheryl Chapell, how are you doing? Wonderful guest. How are you today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Oh, everybody's excited. Everybody's looking at you for the main guest. Look at that. We already have a boost. From the second I said your name, at least 10 more people started watching. I'm not kidding. It's a pleasure to have you. How are you doing?
I'm sorry?
How are you doing?
I'm good. Yeah, it's been a good 3 weeks.
No, has it been that long already?
It has. Yeah.
That's incredible. Well, Harris County Criminal Lawyers Association Reasonable Doubt is taking a little bit of a break from our regularly scheduled programming of the awards. So recently we had been giving out Harris County Criminal Lawyers Association awards to all the award winners. We're taking a quick break so we can have a very, very big and great show for the remaining award winners. They're very important, very well respected, and we're looking at having a great bang out show. So with that being said, how about we start talking about some things that's been going on at the Harris County community. Murray, what's going on? How you doing, man?
Well, there's a lot of stuff, but we have a rare insight here right now with my law partner, Cheryl Chapell, who is probably one of the most recent departures from the Harris County District Attorney's Office. Could probably offer some insight into what it's like right there, right now, better than anyone we've had on the show in a real long time.
I don't know. With turnover the way it is, there's got to be some after me in the 3 weeks, right?
That's true. It is 8 o'clock. So,
and I think most of them are watching. Look, another 10 people have just started to watch.
So Cheryl is your felony district court chief of the 184th. Your special crimes prosecutor. What's the mood like at the office right now? How is the Harris County District Attorney's Office rank and file coping with COVID? What's it like to be a prosecutor? Best you remember long time ago.
I think for the day-to-day and getting your work done and zooming into court, and everyone's handling it pretty well. I mean, you and your fellow coworkers, the ones you work with, it's still been great. You're able to work on your cases, move things, at least people that are in the jail, and get them out. But overall, what is it? Just the environment at the DA's office. I mean, come on, we all know what it's like over there. They don't get any insight, direction from the top. No one feels like they're protected in any big decisions that they want to make. And so it's hard. I mean, you can't do that job without taking risks. And when you don't feel safe to take risks, you can't do anything.
I was going to ask you this. What do you see prosecutors doing to help move the dockets and their contributions on keeping the wheels turning with COVID going on? What initiatives have you seen work and not work, and what do you think they should be doing to make it better?
What they should do to make it better, I think that the Harris County District Attorney's Office needs to start implementing a lot of things, whether it's just COVID specific or just because of the changes that need to be made in light of some of the movements like Black Lives Matter and those kind of things. There needs to be a lot that the Harris County District Attorney's Office decides, hey, let's make these changes. And so obviously that comes from the top. The district attorney can start making changes in light of those movements and COVID. But I think one, for example, is just pick your serious cases and really stick it to those people that need to be taken seriously. And beyond that, just because you can make a case doesn't mean you have to make a case. And so get the things out of there, whether it's just dismissals or lowballing or anything like that, that doesn't need to be wrapped up in the criminal justice system, right? Like, does it need to be here? Should it be here? Get it out. We are one of the biggest counties in the nation, and everyone is overloaded. It's not fair to anyone.
So I have a question along those lines. In your experience, was there any kind of a disconnect between intake and the trial bureau that could explain for any kind of, because when you're talking about moving the dockets are all created by the district attorney's office. I mean the actual daily docket. I mean, there's not a single case in there that wasn't filed by the Harris County District Attorney's Office.
Right.
So,
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's definitely a disconnect. We have, when Kim Ogg came in, she took intake and made it her own. For whatever reason, she decided she needed to do that. But we have people working intake, and I don't know them personally. I am sure that they are great people. But if they haven't necessarily worked inside the courtrooms here in Harris County, then they don't know from the jump, this is a case that we shouldn't be taking. This is a case that needs to be referred. I mean, there was a felony case where a pineapple was thrown at a brother, and that person was sitting with a felony. I mean, that's ridiculous. And that started intake.
Deadly weapon.
They're very pointy.
Delicious weapon.
I agree. I personally have never been hit by a pineapple, but if I did,
there's a lot of other fruit.
Is that felony going down? You're on that felony?
I've hurt myself picking one up at a grocery store, so I'm actually okay with that being a deadly weapon. So
all three of you. So you're fresh as a defense attorney, very seasoned trial lawyer. As a prosecutor, what are some of the things that just pissed you off from defense attorneys? So that we can just not do that.
Or do it more.
I hate it, and I almost named someone, but I'm not going to. When they come in and they think it's hilarious that they're like, I want these dismissed. I was like, okay, I know you didn't mean it. You haven't looked at it. You don't know anything about it yet. I mean, stop joking about it. I am down to dismiss a case if we need to dismiss a case, but it just got real old. I hated that so much.
Get new material. Where are your nollies? They have that.
But, I mean, that pissed me off.
It was not me that asked that question. I always try to have original material.
What's one of the best things about the DA's office?
About the DA's office?
Sure.
I mean, some of the people that you meet and get to work with, and shout out to my baby DA groups. I hope they never kick me out. I loved getting to teach younger prosecutors and just hang out, bounce cases off other people, tell Tim Ballingy he's not being reasonable or something like that. So I'm definitely going to miss the teaching, the training, and just the brainstorming together, right? In the office environment.
What's a baby DA group?
Oh, all the prosecutors who go to their baby DA school. I got to go with a bunch of them, and I hope they'll never kick me out of our group texts.
Oh.
What was the impetus to drive you out of the DA's office?
Kim Ogg and Tanisha.
Fair enough. Did you? I mean,
yeah, you wrote a resignation letter that kind of got a little traction on it.
It did. I wasn't expecting that. I mean, I sent it to a lot of people in the office, but I guess I didn't think 2 steps ahead. I just thought that Kim Ogg really put a bunch of us, and 7 of us, 8 actually, because Janie was fired and she shouldn't have been. But she put 8 of us in a really bad situation where the entire office, or most felony attorneys, prosecutors, knew about it, but she wasn't speaking to them. She wasn't giving anyone any answers about what she did and how she was going to handle things in the future. So I kind of felt like that entire office needed an answer. And if I was the only one that was going to give it to them, then.
Let me ask you, I mean, Kim Ogg is a big, DA Ogg's obviously the district attorney, law enforcement officer of the county. It took a lot of guts. I mean, what was it tough to make that decision to have your exit, or were you anticipating it being so public? But on the flip side, if it wasn't public, irregardless, as that's a new word,
Look at you.
right? I think I used it appropriately. Regardless, I can't even say it. Regardless if you thought it was going to be public or not, that took a lot of guts to stand up and to say that to the district attorney, your boss. Talk to us about your thought process about that, and why, and what was your kind of motivation or cornerstone to be able to say and do something like that. And if you thought it might be public, like, wow, like, I just want to kind of get into your head with that. What was your thought process with that?
No, I thought about it a lot. I went back and forth on whether or not I would give the letter to the other people that were in that office. 'Cause let's be clear, I didn't leak it outside the office.
Right. Well, like you did with the COVID.
I didn't do that.
I'm kidding.
Be very
I know. I'm kidding. I know you did it. I know you did it.
But yeah, I mean, I had nerves thinking about doing it. But again, I felt like I needed to because other people in that office deserved answers. And at the end of the day, I left that office because I tried for 7+ years to do the right thing, right? Days, I'm sure I messed up. I was mean to people in docket, or, I'm sure. But for the most part, I tried to do the right thing all the time. And it became very clear that the district attorney in that office wasn't really about that. And so I needed to go, and the office deserved reasons why.
I think that is your reputation in the office was always, number one, amazing advocate. Number two, like, by the book, straight edge, straight line. I mean, it's not like you're ever going to be able to pull the wool over Cheryl, or have Cheryl bend the rule, or, hope she's going to let something slide, because you never did. You always played by the book, and you were a strong advocate all the time. And so I always knew, for example, in my dealings with you, that, look, I'm not going to be able to go and bullshit you, or I'm not going to hope that you're going to bend the rule a little bit, because quite frankly, it does happen, okay? But we know with you that, and you or anybody under your watch, is not going to happen. And so when you decided to make such a bold exit, and quite frankly, it wasn't like there's two types of exits. Like, maybe one of them is a exit like I'm going to just throw the papers in the air and scream and
burn this place down.
Right.
No, it really became a matter of public concern. I don't trust what she's doing. I don't trust what she will do. And I think for victims, for the community, and for defendants, that's concerning.
You accused her in the letter. You said that she had, I think, and I'm probably misquoting you a little bit, but that she had fostered a culture of dishonesty. And you said, I simply cannot work for you anymore. What did that mean to you?
One of the examples that I put in there about that dishonesty was just about those emails that came out, and that wasn't great. But one thing that after the whole death chart came out, when I got to really see some of what was going on with the top, is that she rewards people who she believes is loyal to her. And that's a scary situation, because people that she believes are loyal to her, she will trust them and keep them close no matter what. And even if it's at the detriment of other hardworking, honest prosecutors in that office. And I think it's just dangerous. Trusting people because of an apparent loyalty instead of really looking at cases, situations. That's kind of what I meant. You can't really trust a lot of the people that she holds close, because if they want to turn on you, or they want you out, then she'll do it.
Well, and fostering loyalty does not necessarily require trustworthiness.
Exactly.
Right? So that seems to be kind of what you're getting at.
I kind of feel that some of the younger DAs, I don't necessarily think that they are vouching their loyalty to District Attorney Ogg. But since your departure, I've seen people feeling a little bit more free and able to, granted, they're not going to go out and leave in your fashion, which was, like I said, there's two types of ways to leave. One is the other way, one is your way, which is a matter of public concern, very strong, very well reputable. I mean, you left pretty good. It was a really good saying, and you garnered a lot of respect from the defense community. But I also see now that you might be giving some of the younger attorneys there a voice and the ability to say, hey, you know what? If there's something I don't like, or if there's a case that needs to be dismissed that used to be not because we didn't want to ruffle any feathers, that they're going to go ahead and do it.
Well, and that's what should happen, right? And if they think a case is dismissed and they run it by someone else and that person disagrees, well, then maybe they shouldn't be handling that case unless, obviously it does need to be dismissed. But that's why it's so great of having so many people work there, because you get to talk and you get to bounce things off and you get to trust the other coworkers that you have. But when everyone fears the people at the top, that's when justice, is stalled. So I think that I hope that I gave some of the misdemeanor prosecutors or anyone else a voice, or they feel like they can stand up, because they have to do what's right, plain and simple. And fearing your boss shouldn't stop that.
Damon Parrish says that you would yell at people in the court and then feel bad about it and then give them cupcakes. True or not true?
Has that happened before? Yes, Damon. I yelled at him and then I gave him one of my very own birthday cupcakes. So you're welcome.
Next question is, did you give a cupcake to Kim Ogg? True or not true?
Not true.
Not true. I just made that.
Oh, okay. No.
Let me see. I'm looking. What are the unwritten? Oh, cool. This is from Damon as well. What are the unwritten policies that the public should be aware of in the DA's office? Or are there any?
Policies.
Don't make Kim mad. Don't make me mad.
That's a big one. But like, is he talking about just regarding types of cases and dispositions?
Thing.
Unwritten. I don't know. Like, a lot of things kind of float around, like, oh, you're not supposed
What's the deal with discretion? Right? Like, why is there an 88-page manual on how to exercise discretion? And did you read the manual? And then, if you do exercise discretion, can you get in trouble? That's what the rumor is on our side, is that prosecutors won't dismiss cases because they're afraid of getting in trouble. You were a felony district court chief, so you're like where the trouble would come from. Like, right. What are some of the unofficial policies around there about that kind of stuff?
You definitely can get in trouble for, making big decisions, but I think that's fine. A lot of our job, like my job as a prosecutor, every day I thought I was walking a very fine line between protecting a victim from something else happening or protecting the community, or completely ruining someone's life with a felony or a prison sentence, and that's a really fine line that you have to walk. And so we take chances on people every single case, every single day. So can you get in trouble if you make the wrong one? Of course. The difference.
Okay, let me change it a little. Sorry, I don't interrupt you, but so let's say, because I do want to we're about 20 minutes in. I do want to talk to Murray about how he spent some of his day today, and something in particular. Not everything, Murray.
I want to know. I want to know why.
I've heard of illegal dumping cases that the police officer who filed the charge will call the prosecutor that dismisses the case and explain that they depend on like grant money or something for convictions from those cases, and give them like an earful if they dismiss an illegal dumping case. So I've had prosecutors who are hesitant to do that because they don't want to get heat from the police. So
that's where I was getting to. Is like, we take chances all the time, right? But we do know that if we make a big chance on someone, and then Gamaldi is blasting Kim Ogg in her office on his Twitter, that Kim Ogg or whoever it is coming for us. You know, and it's not just, I support my prosecutors, we took a chance, we were wrong, done. It's, they're coming for us individually. You will be punished. And they will be used against you, you know, like certain evaluations were done where, you know, Crystal Okorafor didn't actually do something, but they saw a post on Facebook, kept it close, and then put it in her evaluation. Like, they are coming for people individually. And so, yeah, people are worried about taking chances. Now, when you bring up grants and money, and yeah, there are times where cases, you have to have a certain amount of cases, or you have to have these convictions or these stats in order to get grants. Yeah, that feels dirty. I never specifically worked with stuff like that. I know in human trafficking, you had a lot of grants. I was never involved in calculating those, and I didn't know any specifics. But when you try and work the system for money, I mean, it feels dirty. The district attorney's office, I talked to Murray about it briefly. Their asset forfeiture right now is doing weird stings on racing, like charging people and trying to upcharge them for felonies so you can get that asset forfeiture, even using undercover police officers so you can use them as complainants in some of these cases for endanger. I mean, it's insane and it's dirty, and that needs to be fixed.
This is a you heard it here first thing.
Yeah, say that again.
It's a big deal. Explain that in more detail, Cheryl, because that is a big deal, and I guarantee you it's not out there yet.
Right before I left, I was kind of clued in on what these racing teams, you know, officers were doing.
Talking about racing, right? Like illegal.
And I mean, again, like, street racing is dangerous. Like, people can die, and don't get me wrong, like, it's dangerous. Judge Derbyshire used to get very, very upset at those cases. But the teams, what they're doing is trying to get felony charges out of them, or a deadly conduct charge, so that they can then forfeit these vehicles. And apparently they're starting to use undercover officers to put in these cars, so you can use that undercover officer as a complainant, so you can get an upcharge.
Trump it up to assault on a public servant, or...
Well, they don't know that they're, it would just be like a deadly conduct of some sort, or whatever it is that they can get that forfeiture through.
The end goal is to seize their car.
These are just like kids.
I recently got a case where they seized his car but didn't file a charge on him, which was crazy to me.
Yeah, because it really only needs like felony conduct. I don't know the details of it. I really don't. It was right before I left. It just feels like something that, I don't know. I didn't love it.
Well, let's talk about something that you love now, the defense work. How does it feel teaming up with Dorian Gray himself to, didn't even listen in. One of the questions I'm getting in the text message says, they say, let me read it. They say, why does your portrait keep growing older, yet you are staying the same age and you're blowing up and you continue to look so great on social media, Murray?
They're talking to me or Cheryl?
Yeah, well, I'm talking to you, but Cheryl is actually, we're probably prettier than you.
I have the perfect answer for that, because I hit maximum ugly at 32. And I mean, you go fat and bald. I mean, what are you gonna do? Like, short of getting like an FTW tattoo across my forehead, there's not a lot more you can do to this canvas to make it worse. I got glasses. I mean,
you're a beautiful man, Murray. Don't say that.
It's coming for you, Justin. It's coming for you, brother.
No, I'm fighting.
That's messed up, bro. That's messed up. And look, okay, so Murray, you and Cheryl are now partners. Is that right? Or she's working with you?
I actually asked Cheryl if she would consider partnering up last summer. She said she still had some time that she wanted to stay at the DA's office, and luckily Kim Ogg was a very effective bargainer on my behalf to get her to leave earlier than she had intended. I feel extremely fortunate that she agreed to sign on to be a partner with me, and she's already kicking butt and taking names in the 2 weeks we've been up and running.
Cheryl, what are you most looking forward to, and what excites you about being a defense attorney? And finally, compound question: did you ever think that you'd be a defense attorney?
I did. In the very, very beginning, I had worked with defense attorneys, interned with defense attorneys, thought I'd go to the DA's office to be a better defense attorney. But I ended up I loved it. I loved being a prosecutor. So I did, but I didn't think it would be in this way. And while I was there and loving my job, I didn't know if I would actually want to. But
What are you looking forward to?
really liked so far is, I don't know, I mean, our job is just about problem solving, right? Like
Sure.
finding issues, figuring out what comes in, what stays out, what they know, what they don't know. And that's exactly what I'm doing on this side. And it's been fun. I don't know. You meet people as people and not just words on a page. And that
Sure.
Absolutely. How's that? You haven't had clients before as a prosecutor. How's it been having clients and
it's been nice. You know, I've already had a client's mom offer to nanny my children. I didn't.
she
She's
said
not,
no?
but it's just nice. They're nice people and they're in bad spots. So
That's right.
What are you? Is there anything that scares you about being a defense attorney, and what excites you about being a defense attorney?
Netflix documentaries scare me about
Sure.
being a defense attorney.
Sure.
What do you mean?
I just watched Outcry last week.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Super scary.
It's
Super-
terrifying because that's
Yeah.
on the prosecutors and it's also on the defense attorney. It's
Sure.
terrifying. Our jobs are terrifying no matter what side you're on. So that. And what excites me is, I mean, just getting to try cases and feel as though, like, because regardless of whether or not someone did what they're charged with or didn't do with what they're charged with, I think it's exciting to help people in bad situations, regardless.
I think when I first started, and it still scares me, it's just making a mistake, right? Number one. But as far as case wise, gosh, I remember dealing with some of the cartels, and I was like, one of those cases was enough for me to just say, nah, I'm good. I'm really good. I'm fine. I don't need the money. I'm good. That's scary. Other than, making a mistake, some cases, maybe some of the larger drugs and such will lead to the Murray Newmans and the Ken Schaefers. And
I remember thinking I would be excited because I would finally know the truth behind these cases. And then I realized clients lie to their defense attorneys just like they lie to the cops, to the prosecutor.
Yeah.
So I want to know the truth now. And it was a huge delusion. So
I called a witness on a case over the weekend, and I was like, I just want to know what happened. And she's like, if you're a lawyer, or first she didn't believe I was a lawyer. She said, if you're really a lawyer, then you'll know exactly what happened because your client would have told you everything already. Like, you don't know
I'm actually at the point where they're like, hey, let me tell you what happened. I'm like, no,
I don't want to know. It doesn't matter.
Tell me anything. Just sit there and let me figure it out.
It's going to be so fun being on the ground floor with Cheryl and getting to watch her realize that, yes, cops really do try to pull that. We've already got a case where we have cops trying to intimidate some people into rolling over on family members by threatening things that are not the law at all. And it's eye-opening.
Hey, we have something on the feed. Lauren Byrne asks if we can go back to the evaluation situation that you mentioned.
But what? I'm sorry.
If we could go back to the evaluation situation she mentioned, do we?
About Crystal and something
Yeah.
Cheryl mentioned something about something that Crystal had.
Right. So what's the question? Sorry.
It's Prosecutor 2 wants to know what once you.
Prosecutor 2.
I thought you were Prosecutor 1. Are you not Prosecutor 1? No. What?
Cheryl.
It's defense, man.
She wanted elaboration on the evaluation issue that you mentioned about a post on Facebook working its way into a prosecutor's evaluation.
Yeah, well, the only thing I was saying beyond or with that is that it's just the top coming for people individually if there's been something wrong, right? I mean, that turned out not to be Crystal at all. And because they never even asked her about it, approached her about it, they just put it in an evaluation. I mean, that's just not fair. But it's that kind of stuff that makes prosecutors scared about taking chances, making decisions, using their own discretion. That's what I was saying.
Let me
Is that
see.
a question, JB?
Oh, Inger Chandler calls it eval gate.
Yeah.
I like it.
It was
Evalgate. It was a big deal. It should have been bigger probably, and it was put to bed.
So I didn't
And
hear anything about it. How did she find out if she wasn't asked? You say it was just written on an evaluation. She went and asked about it?
Yeah. Yeah, it was put in her evaluation because it was assumed that it was because it was a case in her court, or I kind of forget the details about it, but
so Veronica Nelson's asking why Murray has to consistently mess up the questions, number one. And then number two, this was a big one. Veronica Nelson asks the situation where minority ADA's evals were changed. I know we heard a lot about that. That was a big rumor through the defense community. And I guess those kind of things were happening, I suppose. I know a lot of my friends at the DA's office, that was kind of a big deal on both ends. You know, some of them were like, hey, I may have been a prosecutor for 8-9 years and I haven't been made chief yet, or 7 or 6 years and they haven't been made chief, but there's maybe somebody else who's going to be making chief faster than me. I'm not quite sure if there was a question in there, but I'm just commenting. Oh, Inger says the minority evaluations.
And then just clarifying. Yeah. I mean, I think, and I don't know if Cheryl, if you're comfortable in talking about it or not.
You don't have to.
But there.
Yeah, I mean, I just know it was a situation, absolutely was a situation. I had people that I had previously supervised come to my office in tears because they felt like they didn't deserve things that were put in their evaluation by someone who wasn't their direct supervisor. So, I mean, it affected a lot of people, but it was put to bed pretty quickly. And because of some recent happenings, it's being looked at again, is all I know.
And sure, correct me if I'm wrong, but what they're talking about is you had a bunch of district court chiefs or misdemeanor court chiefs who gave evaluations to people that they were directly supervising. They then turned in those evaluations as they're supposed to as part of their jobs, and those evaluations were then downgraded by a next tier supervisor who wasn't boots on the ground and supervising them.
Correct.
And it seemed to trend toward a certain demographic within the office that was finding themselves on the victimization of that.
Yes, that is. And I mean, and it wasn't only, it didn't end up only being Black prosecutors. There were some others. It was just the majority was.
No whites?
No, I do know of one white female, at least. And I know of one Hispanic female.
Yeah.
That's racist. I'm kidding. Trying to lighten the mood here.
You're doing a great job of that.
Well, thank you, man. Thank you. Hey, look. With that being said, Wanagiri wants to know, when did Murray get those new glasses?
Very recently. He's been very excited about them.
I've been very excited about that.
Juan is a plant.
Huh?
Glad to be able to talk about this now.
Well, speaking of new things, what's going on with COVID and NRG, man?
Oh my!
What's the deal, Murray? Why don't you set it up for us if you can?
So when we talk about this, I would like JV, as someone who just survived COVID and had a really seriously difficult time with it, to give your thoughts on what Murray's about to describe. All right?
Okay, so for those that don't know, I got. Oh, sorry. No.
No, yeah, go ahead. Do that.
I got the COVID. My experience as a defense attorney. So I was going into the CJC. I was going into the jail. I made it through March, April, May, and most of June. Around June, I was perfectly fine, mid-June, and then suddenly on a Saturday, I started to kind of feel like I'm a little sick. By Sunday, I had body aches and chills, and I said, I need to go to get tested. The test would take 3 to 4 days to come back, but by that next Monday, and I'm coughing as I'm talking about it.
Psychosomatic.
I'm not kidding. It like brings up things. And by that Monday, I had a 102, 103 fever. And for the remainder of the week, my health continued to decline. I was coughing up blood. I had blood coming out of my nose. I lost during the course of about 10 days, 20 pounds. My stomach, without going into too much detail, my stomach was a wreck. I was vomiting. I had blood coming out of my vomit. I had incredible chills, undescribable aches. I've been hospitalized with mono and the flu and strep. In fact, I've had strep and the flu at the same time. This was nothing compared to either. My wife ended up getting it. 2 of my 4 kids ended up getting it.
Wow.
I described my household around day 8 like Lord of the Flies, where I had my 4 kids kind of running things. And literally one of my middle ones, Zach, I just remember him like in a diaper. And I could have sworn the guy had like
War
like
paint.
he had like war paint on him in his diaper, and like holding a bag of goldfish in one hand and a Mountain Dew in the other, and like commanding the rest of the family to do whatever they could or wanted to do.
You don't want to know what that paint was made of.
No, I don't. And it continued. It never, ever stopped. And so I finished probably about day 11 or 12. And then it took about a week so it leaves you like a plague, like you wake up, or like a ghost. You wake up one morning and you're like, oh my God, I don't have a fever. What's going on? And it leaves you. And then it spends the next week expelling all of the, I guess, dead cells and the stuff that it's accumulated and built up in you. And then you spend a week gaining weight back and feeling like you can survive again. When I was of the opinion that I'm 37, so I'm thinking, I'm young and healthy, and we were always very cautious because I was going to the CJC and I was going to the jail. I would wear gloves and I'd wear a mask and very careful. And I said, if I get it, okay, I think I'd be fine. I'm a young guy. Well, maybe. I had somebody tell me, I asked them, is 37 old? Does 37 sound old? And then they replied, no, 37 is old. But with that being said, I thought I'd be fine. No. And I think I still have some lingering lung issues. With that being said,
Sounds like it.
I know, I'm talking about it and it comes up. I am petrified. I went to the CJ after I was cleared by Brazoria County, because Brazoria County called me, like the county official, and asked me, hey, we heard you're positive, you make sure you stay home. And they were monitoring me. anyways, after it's done and you go and you get the retest and you do all those kind of things and they call you and they tell you, okay, you can leave your house now, which is quite a little bit frightening, a little bit weird. But they tell you that, and I was able to leave. And so my first week back, I go back to the CJC for a day. I'm cleared, okay? I'm fine at this point. And I go there for 1-2 days, and I have a panic attack. I have anxiety because I can't be around it. Hey Cheryl, welcome back.
Sorry.
No, it happens. I got very anxious. I couldn't focus, and you're freaking out about everybody that's around you. And going back to the CJC was an experience of its own, because I don't know where I got it. Okay, it could have been a CJC, it could have been at the jail. Some other individuals in our neighborhood had tested positive. It could have been a neighborhood child, but it was very PTSD. I'm not going to equate my PTSD to somebody who's been a victim of assaults or crime or domestic violence or war, but my experience. There were times in day 5 or 6, I'm praying to God. I'm praying to God, please forgive me for whatever I've done in my life. You need to please stop this from me, because I'm about to die.
Well, you're not gonna like my news then.
It was terrible. And so I go to the CJC and I start freaking out. So I go there like 1-2 days and I am freaking out. When I get out, I'm having panic attacks. I can't go back. So now I Zoom everywhere, which is still fine, but at the same time, I like being in the courtroom. I love the courtroom. I liked going to the CJC. I liked seeing the judge. I like seeing clients. I like reading people. So I've had to adjust. And the idea of getting COVID again or being exposed to it again is, number one, an older person or somebody who is vulnerable, they would have died. If on day 5, if they had what I had, they'd be dead. And the idea of either me being exposed to it or being in a position where somebody's forced to participate in something and being exposed to it gives me great precaution, and I'm scared, and I'm kind of freaking out about it. So with that being said, that is my experience as a defense attorney here in town with COVID. And I would not wish this upon anybody. And so now we hear that jury trials are on its way. Murray, what says you?
Oh man, it's ugly. It's really ugly, and it's kind of a funny story. I got alerted over the past week. I've kind of found myself thrust into being in the middle of observing what's been going on at NRG in this plan. There was a commissioner's item that had popped up at the last minute on Friday at like 5 o'clock, that they were going to ask the commissioners to vote about a $2 million grant for just doing security out at NRG Arena for jury selection. And since I think that HCCLA can agree that the defense bar's input on how we have what our thoughts are on the idea of selecting a jury has not exactly been invited. Long story short, we kind of said we would like to be invited, and we were more or less allowed to take a look at what it's going to look like, although the ship sailed a long time ago. NRG Arena and as a place to pick juries is gonna happen, and really there's not a thing that we can do about that. But apparently I complained enough in the blog and other things where I got an invite to go out to NRG and take a look at it with Judge Robert Schaefer, who is the district court judge over all the district courts in Harris County, along with Marilyn Burgess, who is the district clerk, to kind of see the setup that they have out there for what it would be like. And there were a lot of things that were very interesting. None of them changed my mind at all about what overall a bad idea this is going to be. Now, I mean, I'm not a doctor, I'm not an epidemiologist, but suffice it to say that you go into to NRG Arena. It's not where the Texans play. It's one of those side buildings, kind of off to the side at the intersection of Fannin and 610. And I think they do livestock shows there. But you walk in the door, and there are two lines that go to a metal detector, and they have the little things on the floor for this is your space for 6 feet of social distancing. And I counted them, and for each line, there's 12 of them before you get to the metal detector. Everybody else is going to be jammed outside, waiting to get in the door, to get in the line, to go to the metal detector. And there are nice signs that remind you to stay 6 feet apart, but good luck administering that. Once you go in, you have to do some check-in. They give you one of those finger condoms like they were giving out people to vote, where you tap in your register, and then they take you into the big stadium area of it, where they just qualify you. If you've had jury duty under regular times and circumstances, it's that room that you kind of congregate in before they pull a panel. And I've always kind of laughed at it that's just the opportunity for the district clerk to campaign for him or herself in November while they tell you all these great things. But they do have these seats that are separated out, and somehow, in my opinion, as a non-epidemiologist, to give you this false sense of security if you're buying that crap, that somehow is adequate to stop the spread. You can judge for yourself. Once you get selected, you get brought over to a room, and they're still in the process of building rooms. They have one in existence right now that they used to pick a grand jury 2 weeks ago, and they're planning on making 3 more of those. And they've got this idea of putting 8-foot high partitions and having these soundproof blankets, but they're all going to be side by side. And so their idea is to be running 4 of these potentially at a time. Judge Schaefer was very nice. He said that thus far it seems to be the civil bar that wants to push towards trial, which kind of makes sense if you think about how civil attorneys ultimately reach their payday is with a verdict. So they have more incentive than probably we as criminal defense attorneys do. But he said, as of right now, he was not aware of any criminal court pushing for them yet. That could change. So we then proceeded into the room that they currently have existing for jury selection. This is where they pick the grand jury. And if you could picture like maybe a 5A high school that had like a super tricked out basketball gym with a lot of stands, because there are a lot of people that came to those games, and it reached from one end of the basketball court to the other, and then it went up like 20 rows. That's what it's like. And it's kind of funny because I took a picture of it. I was there with TCDLA president Grant Shiner, as well as HCCLA president Mark Thiessen, a guy named Novenus I never met. And Grant Shiner went up to the top row where presumably juror number 65 would be. And I took a picture of him up there just to illustrate how far away he was. And it was absurd. And I put it on Facebook, and then I get contacted by Judge Schaefer saying I didn't have permission to take a picture in an area that had been designated as a courtroom, and I needed to take that down because I was definitely not being positive about it, and I was told, take that down. We can debate about that later. But I will tell you this, you're going to be talking about picking a jury in something that is a very wide area, a very high area on a steep incline. Right now, I'm recovering from foot surgery. I mean, as a lawyer, I would be needing to go up and down those stairs to get close enough to talk to prospective jurors on this.
That's really why we're partnering. He needs me to walk up and down that.
I
Makes
thought
more
it was
sense now.
what?
When I said I need her to carry me, she thought I was speaking figuratively. But they're going to be wearing they have to come in wearing the lower face masks. If they get put in one of those panels, they're going to wear shields, and it'll be up to the individual judges whether or not they have to remove the lower part of their masks just when they're answering a question specifically designated to them or throughout the whole thing. So you're not going to be able to see facial reactions because they're going to have these stupid visors that look like you're trying to butcher a cow. Every one of us as participants are going to be wearing those same stupid visors. And I mean, they're not stupid, they're needed, but I think they render what we have to
I've seen these visors. I haven't seen a single person with like a medical background recommend those face shields.
I mean,
it's always masks. You can cover up your nose and your mouth. What is the mask? Shield is pointless. Like,
it's a placebo. It's a placebo to make you feel like you're less at risk. But I have a hard time.
It's got to block some, right? I mean,
sure.
No. The purpose of wearing the mask is not to protect like me from you. It's to protect you from me.
Right.
So the purpose of wearing the shield, it doesn't do anything that the mask isn't doing. I have a problem with all of it, but this is the first government official that I've ever heard talking about wearing a face shield.
Well,
I've been looking up, and it's actually the mask requirements. You will get a ticket still, most places, if you're just wearing a shield and no mask. The mask is not what they want you to wear. The shield is not what they want you to wear.
It's got ridiculous logistical issues because if you go up, let's say 6 rows to hear from a juror, well, you're not going to be able to hear from the people that are on row 1 and 15 yards over. It's not going to work. You're not going to be able, even if you don't just need a second chair, you need a second, third, fourth, and fifth chair to be observing these reactions, or it's just not going to work.
And they have to be able to read it because the only person who has to pull their mask down is the person answering the question. So the other 59 plus, they can be like snickering to that person's dumbass answer. Sorry, Mark. And you won't know, right?
It's absolutely absurd. And don't forget, we have to wear them. And they're talking about having workers there that have the boom mics, like that go run up like it's the Montel Williams show. Like, how about you, juror 64? Feel like you can be fair? Let's give it up for juror number 64 who says it's fair.
That's Arsenio Hall, but
and then how many times have we gone up or we've dealt with a challenge where they made a face and the judge says, well, I didn't see that. Like, no kidding. Nobody saw that because everybody was wearing these ridiculous facial shields. I mean, it's so phenomenally bad that I cannot fathom in what world anybody thinks that this works. I mean,
I have the picture. Can I put the picture up if I share the screen, or is that a no-go?
I think you can. Mark
I have it. It's me.
Mark Bennett always talks about the Streisand effect of by trying to hide something, you actually draw more attention to it. I think it's fine to do it. I'm probably gonna get arrested. I'm going to look for you all. So yeah. So.
Wait a second.
Wow.
Can you see it? Am I doing it?
Right.
Am I doing it?
I can't even tell that's Grant Shiner, and I know him.
Yeah.
Look at that. Can you see my screen?
If he's holding up a juror information card, you're gonna need binoculars to see what number he was.
I mean, we're gonna have. You said we're gonna have a bullhorn.
I don't know. You're gonna have to be mic'd up. If you notice these little orange tags, that's where jurors are going to potential jurors are going to be sitting.
So 3 people per row.
Yeah.
No. 3 people per every 2 rows.
This goes to each end of this. I mean, this is talking at least, I think we see 4 sections, but I think it's actually 5. I mean, this is super crazy spread out. And
we have to discuss how jury selection is going to fundamentally change in this building.
I mean,
this isn't going to work.
What about bench trials?
Well, that'll work, but it's also per se ineffective. We'll talk.
Yeah. Hey, look.
But
along those lines, we just have a couple minutes left, Cheryl. But before you left, was there any talk around the office water cooler about what other ADAs felt about trials resuming with videos or in NRG or anywhere else? I mean, what was boots on the ground? What were their feelings?
Yeah, I mean, I think that most people are opposed for everything that Murray said already, as well as, yeah, I mean, you have to get to know people when you're picking a jury, right? Like, you have to know whether or not you think they're going to be a good juror, and whether you're on the defense or the state side, that's going to be very hard to do in such a big room with masks. And then just all the health risks. I mean, I just got a text from Tim when I said, oh, surely a shield helps a little. And he says, no, the CDC says it doesn't. So, you know, everyone has concerns, even on the state side. But
Well,
I don't.
Marilyn
I don't
Burgess
see-
in a meeting yesterday said, she literally said these words, that the only place that you will be safer than being at Reliant Arena is at your own home. And I'm like, that's a
What?
reasonable statement.
What?
Yeah, she said that in a meeting yesterday, and it was like, you could not be more wrong.
He hasn't
But
been to my house.
yeah, we're not going to be able to pick a fair jury. I think we should go to individual voir dires. Quite frankly, that's not efficient.
Yep.
But I can't imagine a way that's even remotely close to being safe other than that. So
I agree.
And that you
I
don't
don't
need
know.
room for that. You have to build walls for that. Like, that just makes the most sense.
And there's going to be blankets, like soundproof blankets.
they're whoobies. They'll make you feel comfortable that you're not getting killed while being there.
I have, if
So
I
they're gonna put 8-foot walls between those sections of the seat.
blankets.
A different voir dires going on in each one of those.
Yeah, that's the plan.
How the ceiling's got to be 30 or 40 feet high, right?
Super high. They're buying all these things. Drop them down. That's what we were told.
30 seconds. Cheryl, any advice to the prosecutors out there? Any words of
That's crazy.
Cheryl as we exit?
yeah, the only words of advice I have are that the district attorney's office still needs to have really good prosecutors. And so if you're the people that aren't having to deal with any of the, you know, administrative crap, then stick it out, because we need them. And you don't have to have that paycheck if it's not worth it. You can find another job, but that's where we're at.
Murray, last 10 seconds. Anything?
I love you all. I'm glad you're healthy. I'm glad you're back. I'm excited about my new law partner. If Damon Parrish says this is a commercial, I'm proud of it.
Justin Harris, any words for your new favorite judge?
I'm just my new favorite judge. I'm sad that Cheryl's gone, because I'm not going to walk in court anymore and be like, "Hey, I want a dismissal."
Well,
There are
God, I never got
prosecutors that you can say that
cupcakes,
to.
so I feel left out. I feel left out. Okay, we're getting the big stop sign. HCCLA's Reasonable Doubt. Thank you so much. We're with our host, Justin Harris.
Welcome
Host,
back.
Newman. Future great, awesome, amazing new defense attorney, Cheryl Chapell. Thank you so very much. Houston Media Source, we thank you so much. And currently for the, wow, we got a ton of people watching, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. It was a wonderful show. We look forward to talking to you and seeing you around the courthouse or through the Zoom. This is Jay Julio Vela signing out. Thank you so very much. Adios, amigos.